Without the correct strategy, it's incredibly easy to blow time and money on lead sources that don't even end up closing. I've personally spent thousands of dollars on paid ads, hours cold calling for my own business, and generated multiple six figures for my clients. In this video, I'm breaking down the 5 best ways to get wholesale leads in 2026, and this will work regardless if you have a team of 10 plus people or you're just getting started in wholesale real estate. Now, first on the list is cold calling, and most people hate it, but everybody also knows that when looking back at your own metrics, cold calling one way or another, assuming of course that you called enough people, produced not only a return on investment, but probably a significant return on investment if you're pricing your product properly. And there are a lot of pros with cold calling. And just to name a couple, the first is that it is extremely budget and beginner friendly. You can start out just by calling people low status. You're going to be perceived as low status, and you're going to work your way up as you get to know your market. You can directly talk with people that are in painful situations, which we're going to break down on why in a second. And on top of that, it just is extremely cost effective. You don't have to pay much for a CRM. You can just literally get a free trial for some of them. A lot of them have like 30-day free trials, and you can just run it and honestly make your first, $5-6 grand, maybe not that much, but if you're new to the game, maybe $2-3 grand just from that first month of cold calling alone. Now, obviously that's an ideal scenario, and there's a lot of trials and tribulations associated. So, that's for another time. But the next is that it is actually extremely scalable if you have a team under you. If you're doing it by yourself, you're going to cap out, you're going to be filled with fatigue, and that's just not going to work out. But when you have people under you that you're training that can do half the work that you currently had to do, but you can multiply that by 6-7 people and have 7 different people calling, now you have a scalable system that works, and you can stay high leverage taking the sales calls or have someone else doing it. But you don't have to, waste all of your energy, drain all of your energy cold calling all day, because you have people that are doing that work for you. And the last thing is just that it's extremely targeted. What I mean by that is you can just download database lists, PropStream, et cetera, and you can find people that are in dire situations, that their house is in foreclosure, they've inherited a home. And this is how you can target people that are actually motivated. Even though they might not be motivated to work with you, they're in a situation that, you're calling the person that's actually in the situation that you're calling them about, instead of, the other methods, which we're going to break down, where some of them are just honestly not even in the market. Now, with those pros being said, those also are the cons, because it is extremely time intensive. And if you're running that team, when you're scaling, it is going to be admin heavy, meaning if you don't have someone like an ops manager, you're going to have to be training them constantly, because you're going to have people leave all the time when it comes to cold calling. It's just not a sustainable thing for a lot of people unless, the salary justifies it, which typically with cold calling can be a little bit dicey. And most people go through the phases of cold calling manually, then they'll outsource their cold calling, not just to an in-house team, but marketing agencies. And then finally, they'll transition to a call center or internal sales team because they have enough knowledge and they just figured, hey, we can cut some costs, boost the ROI, and cold calling becomes profitable. Now, number 2 on the list is direct mail. The pros for this are pretty straightforward. You have an older demographic that's going to be checking their mail more frequently, because younger people just simply don't check their mail. And with this being said, the older demographic of those that actually check the mail and are interested are pretty warm and pre-qualified, because they're likely in a situation that is, in need of your services. With that being said, however, there are some cons, and one of them is just the fact that the sales cycle is typically much longer, 3 to 6 months, because there's a trust building factor that has to be involved. Along with that, just typical properties in this situation just take longer most of the time. And on top of that, it's going to require a minimum budget of $1,500 to $3,000 every single month. And if you're new, this can be a lot to handle if you don't have money saved, because obviously the sales cycle is going to be longer. You're going to need to set aside, $10,000, $12,000 in order to eventually see that return on investment. Now, the third way is using paid ads. And we're going to break down the 3 different platforms within paid ads that most wholesalers use that see actual return on investment and success. First platform is going to be PPC. This stands for pay per click. This is also known as Google search campaigns. So when you go on Google, let's say you're someone who's going through foreclosure, how to stop foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, how to stop pre-foreclosure tips, etc., whatever. your website's going to pop up as the first search result on Google. And so when someone clicks on that, you're being charged for that click. These are highly motivated prospects. They're already in the aware-based mindset. And so this is going to inevitably make the conversion rates extremely higher because people are in the market right now searching for your exact service. So on paper, this sounds amazing. And honestly, it is for really dialed in, companies. But there are a couple cons that are extremely important to address because it is highly competitive. With something that's extremely effective, obviously multiple people are going to be doing it. And because it's competitive, it also has limited digital real estate because other companies that are more established, especially if you're newer, will typically outbuy you. They will just spend $1,000, $2,000 a day in their specific area, and they will just dominate the market. Also, with that being said, it requires significant industry experience and sales experience to take advantage of all of the leads that are coming into the pipeline. And it is less scalable than other platforms and is more so just a stable approach to get stable amounts of clients every single year. So that's PPC. Next on the list is Facebook ads. And there are actually a lot of great benefits to Facebook ads. It is the cheapest ad platform, so it's the easiest to start with if you want to do online ads. And ads are extremely easy to create and are lower budget because you can post picture ads. I don't actually recommend running picture ads on Facebook. I recommend you run video ads. I also recommend you take advantage of the Andromeda update with its new capabilities of pushing out multiple pieces of content and lookalike content. With this being said, however, there are some cons because the lead quality is notorious for being bad across all the paid ad platforms. The targeting is also broad, so it literally shows your video to anyone and everyone in your specific area or the area that you're targeting. So you're going to pick up a lot of those, like I said, bad quality leads. And the minimum budget required is going to be about $1,500 to $3,000 a month. So $50 a day to $100 a day in order to actually see results. With this being said, however, I have noticed Facebook ads can work extremely well when you actually know how to create the proper creatives that are trendy. Whatever's working in the market, if you can find a valuable solution, you're going to get a ton of leads. And actually, sometimes it rivals the next platform I'm going to be talking about when it comes to cost per closed deal. And so finally, we land on the final platform, which is YouTube ads. YouTube ads have about nearly the same lead quality as Google pay-per-click or Google search campaigns. I typically notice about 80% of the quality. So it's going to take about 20% more volume in order to see the exact same amount of quality leads as you would on Google search campaigns. The reason for this is because it also uses Google's algorithm to find ideal client prospects. And on top of that, video ads build trust at scale. If they've seen your Google search campaigns before, if they've seen you, let's say, on a billboard, if they've seen you on TV, YouTube ads is another touch point that's going to build trust with that person. It's going to reinforce the mere exposure effect. And on top of that, if you target properly, you're also going to show your videos to those who are actively in the market for your service. And so because of this, it's extremely high scalability when done properly, and the targeting can be extremely niche to who you're actually honed in for. It's almost like every single method we've talked about before kind of combined into one specific platform. Now, there are cons to this as well, which I'm going to mention. It does require a bit of a higher budget. And on top of that, typically it does, to be honest, if you're not experienced, I just want to be real, it takes longer to see results almost every single time. Because you need to gather data, you also need to know how to utilize creating certain YouTube creatives that fit the platform that's going to resonate with your demographic to take action now. It's not the same as Facebook ads. It's different. Although they both require video ads, the methodology and the psychology subtly differ, but massively change the results that you're going to yield from each of them. And on top of that, video ads are required on YouTube ads, obviously, as I said before. So you're going to need to hire actors, which is going to cost more budget, or you're going to have to record yourself, which requires time and skill. Now, if you're interested on how I've set up and run YouTube ads for wholesalers, I've got an entire mini course going over how it works, from the ad account to the ad creatives themselves. I'll go link that right over here. Check that out, and I'll see you there. Peace.